Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi Om. Dear friends, welcome to the study of the Yogasutras. We were seeing the 16th Sutra in the last class. 16th Sutra is a small one, that is Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Anagatam Dukkham. So we were talking about, in the earlier Sutra, we were talking about the karma phala, how karma phala is spent, etc. And Sukham and Dukkham, again, they are always intermixed. What we call Sukham is always associated with some element of Dukkham. So that is what we saw. And what is Dukkham Anagatam Dukkham? Anagatam is that which is pending. What has already started giving its fruit, we can't help. It is going on, it is being carried out now. And some past karma has already been carried out. So that again is exhausted. But then there is a lot of Sanchita karma which is there pending for a long time, for the past so many, any number of lives. And that Sanchita karma is not yet exhausted by us. That can be exhausted either by spending or by knowledge or by self-realization. It is only by self-realization, like in the Vedanta. Here also, it is only by self-realization that the Sanchita karma gets totally neutralized. Otherwise, the man has to perpetually be there in that cycle of samsara, that is cycle of birth and death. So that Heyam Dukkham Anagatam, we saw that sutra. And we have to go to the next sutra. Heyam. Heyam is something which is avoidable. Something which has to be, which not only, it doesn't say it has to be, it is avoidable, Heyam. Then again, the next sutra, it tells about what is the cause for this Heyam. In the earlier sutra, he was giving an example of Roga, Rogasya Nidanam, etc. The disease, whether it is illness, whatever it is, and the cause for that, and what is Swastham, that is health, and what is the means for attaining that Swastham. So that 4 steps he was talking about. So now this Heya Hetu, what is the Hetu? What is the cause for this disease? So what is the cause for this disease? The same cause which is told even in the Vedanta and in several other texts. That is avidya. In other sense, identification. Purusha's identification with the body-mind complex. Jiva getting identified with the body-mind complex. Jiva thinking that this body-mind complex is my real self. So that is the Heya Hetu. That is the cause for all the dukkha. So that is what we see in the 17th Sutra. I'll just share the text now. Yes. So this Heyam Dukkham Anagatam, we read it. Then again, we have to see this Sutra. Tasmad Yadeva Heyam Ityuchyate Tasyaiva Karanam Pratinirdisyate. Yat Heyam Ityuchyate. Whatever is told as Heyam, whatever is told as avoidable, Tasya Karanam. The cause for that, Pratinirdisyate, it is being shown, it is being told in detail. Nirdishyate, Nirdesham is pointing out. Then Drashtru Drishyayo Sanyogo Heya Hetuhu. Heya Hetuhu means Heyasya Hetuhu. Heyasya Samsarasya Athava Heyasya Dukkasya Hetuhu. Heyasya Dukkasya means the dukkha, the sorrow which is avoidable. For that dukkha, what is the cause? The cause for that dukkha is Drashtru Drishyayoho Sanyoga. The apparent combination, the apparent union, it is not exactly a real union. It is because he has used the word Sanyoga, we have to translate it as union. It is actually an apparent union. This apparent union or false identification between this drashta and the drishyam. Drashta identifying himself with the drishyam. Drashta is the same as druk. It is the same as kshetrajna. It is the same as jiva. And druk or drishyam. Drishyam is the same as kshetram. It is the same as jagat. And in the druk drishya viveka, whatever we see, that druk and drishya, instead of druk and drishya, it is called drashta and drishyam. So drashtu drishyayoha sanyoga, the union. That is the jiva, though it is absolutely asanga. Asanga means something which is not attached with anything. That is that which is infinite in nature. That which is a nirlepa. Asanga and nirlepa are almost same. Then again, that's avikari, that which doesn't undergo any sort of change. So all these adjectives are there for that Purusha. The same, that such Purusha, he thinks, the Drishyam, he identifies with that Drishyam. So Sanyoga, what is the meaning of this sutra? Sanyoga means the union. Drashtru Drishyayoho, of the knower and the knowable. Knowable is that Drishyam. Drishyam is that knowable. What is knowable? What is that knowable? What exactly we see in Gita, that is a Kshetram. All that is Kshetram. That is in the 13th chapter of the Gita. Krishna, I think 3 or 4 shlokas, he describes what all the Etat Kshetram, he says. So what all we see, all the external world and also all the internal world, that is all our feelings, emotions, and all our anger, greed, all these things, the external and internal world, which comes into the purview of this buddhi, that is the intellect, all that is drushyam, because the buddhi also remains drushyam. Buddhi, though it appears to be cognizing the external world, it also is known by the self. When I say my mind, my buddhi, I am distinguishing myself from that mind and buddhi. I am able to watch my mind. So watching the mind and watching the buddhi is also possible. So this drashtu drusyayoho sanyoga heya hetuhu, that is the cause for that avoidable karma fruit, that is sorrow, karma phala or karma fruit or sorrow. The union of the knower and knowable is the cause for this avoidable fruit. Drashta buddhehe pratisamvedi purushaha Drushyaha buddhisattva, there is a visarga here. Drushyaha buddhisattvoparudhaha sarve dharma. What is this drashta? Buddhehe pratisamvedi purushaha. It is exactly same what we see in Vedanta. Purushaha is the same as jiva. What we call as jiva in Vedanta, we call it purusha here. That is the pure consciousness, that sentient principle of consciousness. Buddhehe pratisamvedi. What is the meaning of this pratisamvedi? For this pratisamvedi, there is the meaning given here is the commentary that pratisamvedi. Chitiksha, this Vachaspati Mishra writes in the Tattvavidananda, Chitikshaya bhaktireva buddhehe buddhi pratisamveditvam udasinasyapi pumsaha. Udasinasyapi pumsaha. Though this Purusha is somebody who is udasina. Udasina means ut asina. That is just staying above, not connected with anything. Though this Purusha's real nature is that udasinatvam or udasinyam. Even then, what happens? Chitichhayapattireva buddhehe. Buddhehe chitichhayapattihi. Buddhi is getting that chaya. It is getting the reflection of that consciousness. This pure consciousness is something which is somewhat like the sun's sunlight, and there is something like a water body on the ground. So this water body is capturing the light of that sun, and then it is giving a reflection. So this buddhi is compared to that. Buddhi is, it is said to be atyacha virala taijasa dravyam manaha, something like that. There is a definition in Vedanta Paribhasha. So there is atyacha taijasa dravyam. So virala taijasa dravyam manaha. So that is something which is pure and which is capable of taking or capturing the reflection of that consciousness. So that is what is pratisamvedi. Pratisamvedi is, in fact, this commentator, he also says, it is somewhat like pratidhvanivat ayam prayoga. That he says, pratidhvanivat, like pratidhvani. There is an echo-like thing. So that somewhere that light is there, that so sunlight is there, and there is a reflection. So similarly, consciousness is there, and this buddhi is functioning like its echo. Pratidhvanivat. Buddhehe pratisamvedanam, samvedanasya buddhivrittehe pratibimbaha. So this pratibimba, so in fact, what is called the pratibimba and this vadas, they actually probably they developed from such random statements made by Shankaracharya or Gaudapadacharya. So later theoreticians, let us say, later philosophers, they developed into certain, they developed those arguments into the different schools. There is some Pratibimbavada, Avachedavada, etc., etc. So here, Drashta Buddhehe Pratisamvedi, simple translation can be, this is the knower is the Purusha, who or which, because Purusha is not a human being. Purusha is only an entity. Purusha is only, it's not a person. So that is why it's better to call it which, like we call Brahman as it in Vedanta. Purusha, which enables the buddhi, the intellect. It is enabling by how? Like the sunlight falling on this on a water body and then enabling it to give a reflection. So similarly, the knowable are all the objects which come in the purview of the intellect. So here, drushyaha means all the what all comes into the operation of comes under the operation of the way buddhi. So buddhi sees external things, and buddhi also examines my own body-mind complex, my own emotions, etc. The buddhi is able to analyze. So whatever comes under the purview of that buddhi, all those things, buddhi sattva, uparudha. Uparudha means arohanam means climbing. Uparudha means which have climbed over. Here figurative, you see in Sanskrit expressions, we see so many figurative usage. So that figurative usage cannot be literally translated. So buddhi sattva, sattvoparudha means which come under the purview of the intellect. Those which climb on to buddhi, I have to translate like that, which is a very awkward translation. So which will come under the purview of the intellect. Buddhi sattva uparudha. Those which come under the cognition, which come under the purvey, which come under the purview of the entire of that buddhi. All those things. That means the whole universe, all the external universe which we see, and also the mind and its all the emotions which are there in the mind. So this Vachaspati Mishra explains that the Purusha is essentially pure consciousness, unattached with Prakriti. It imparts its reflection on the buddhi. Because of this reflection, it is called Pratisamvedi. That is what is called Pratisamveditvam. That is what is Buddhi Pratisamveditvam Udasinasyapi Pumsaha. Then here Drushya is what all reaches the buddhi through the channel of the senses. All this Indriya Pranalika, it says. Indriya Pranalika, Indriyas are like the channels. Nala is a canal. Nala is actually a small tube, or it can be a canal. It can be some sort of channel, let us say. Nala, Pranalika, Nalika, all these are synonymous words. So this Nalika, Indriya Pranalikaya, that also is there in one commentary. So that is all these external objects, they come to the mind through this channel called Indriyas. So these channel of the senses. And it means that the entire universe comes under this category. Whatever is seen as separate from the self is Drushya. I, that notion of I is there. Whatever can be seen, or whatever can be separated from that I or from that self is called Drushya. Then Purusha, the pure consciousness, has no real contact with Buddhi, but appears to have contact. Buddhi, insentient by nature, appears as sentient with the reflection of consciousness in it. Okay. Tadetat Drushyam, Ayaskantamanikalpam, Sannidhimatropakari, Drusyatvena Swam Bhavati Purushasya Drushirupasya Swaminaha, Anubhava Karma Vishayatam Apannam Yataha. Tadetat Drushyam. This Drishyam, all this, whatever was described earlier, is that Drishyam. And how does it function and what are its features? Ayaskanta Manikalpam. It is something comparable to a magnet. A magnet is what attracts. So this Buddhi is something which is, not only Buddhi, this entire Drishyam is something which is Ayaskanta Manikalpam, means it attracts the Indriyas. It attracts the Indriyas and the mind. Why? In fact, if we see, the Indriyas and the mind are actually derived from the five senses only. The five senses, the Sukshma, that Sukshma Bhuta, not from the Sthola Bhuta, from the Sukshma Bhutas. It is designed, the Indriyas they have developed. For example, my sense of sight is from the Tanmatra. What is that Tanmatra? That Tejas Tanmatra. And my sense of touch is from the Vayu Tanmatra. That is the subtle element, that subtle aspect of that Vayu. So the Indriyas are derived from, each Indriya is derived from one particular element. And the mind, of course, all the Tanmatras of all the five elements, they jointly produce what is called the mind. So that is the reason why the mind is able to know all sensory cognitions from all the five senses, the mind can know. So, because these are all interdependent, what is there in the mind, what is there in the body-mind complex is outside, and what is outside is there in the body-mind complex. So these, they seek each other. So that is how it is somewhat like an ayaskanta manikalpam. Sannidhi matropakari. And this is something only when the consciousness is proximate to that, only when consciousness is sannidhi. Sannidhi means it is only when it is proximate to that. It is only when the sunlight falls that there is a reflection. So similarly, only when that intelligence is there, only then the senses are able to function. Otherwise, the senses and the mind, they do not function. Sannidhi matra upakari. Drushyatveena swam bhavati purushasya drushi rupasya swaminaha. Purusha is, what is Purusha? Drushi rupaha. Drushi rupa means he is of the nature of the seer. Then Swami, he is the boss. Purusha is like the Swami. So this Drishyam becomes the Swam. Swam means it becomes the some property. Swam, actually the word Swami comes, Swam, Yasya Asti is a Swami. Swam means his own Swam. Swam in Telugu we say Swam. Swam is what, nothing but Swam in Sanskrit. So Purushasya Swam, Drusyatvena, Swambhav. Drusyatvena means by being a Drushya, by being something which is knowable, by being something which is knowable. Whatever is knowable is something which is inferior to the mind, or to what knows. The knower is always superior to the knowable. So all the knowable becomes the property of the knower. So like that. So Drusyatvena, because it is Drushya, Swam Bhavati, Purushasya, Drushi Rupasya Swaminaha, Anubhava Karma Vishayatam Apannam Yataha. So it has become the karma for Anubhava. For example, I am experiencing something. I am seeing this, say, pen, for example. So this pen is now the karma. I am the karta. This is the karma. I am seeing this pen. So this pen is the subject. And I am the subject and this is the object. So subject-object relationship comes. So like that, Drushirupasya Swaminaha, Anubhava Karma Vishayatam Apannam Yataha. So Anubhava is the karma. Anubhava Vishaya, Anubhava Karma. So I am experiencing it, I am seeing it. And this pen has become a subject matter for my Anubhava. Subject matter for my Anubhava. Vishayata. Vishayata means subject matter. Vishaya is subject. So this pen has become the subject matter for me, the knower, who am experiencing this particular pen. Anubhava karma vishayatam apannam yataha. This knowable, the whole universe, including the body-mind complex, acting like a magnet, helps enjoyment. Helps in what? Sannidhi matrena upakari. Upakari in what sense? In what way? Because upakari, to enjoy. The Purusha is the person who is enjoying. Helps enjoyment by its mere presence only when it is near the Purusha. When the Purusha or consciousness is away, it cannot do anything. So being knowable, it becomes the possession of Purusha. It becomes the Swam. Swam means property or possession. It becomes the possession of Purusha, the conscious entity, because it becomes the object of experience for Purusha. Whatever becomes the object of experience for me is my Swam, my property, my possession. I am able to experience it. I am able to enjoy it. So Vishayatam Apannam Yataha. Then the five senses evolve. Yeah, this is what I said. The five senses evolve from the five elements, and hence they seek contact with them. This is the bhoga or sensory experience. I told you bhoga is a neutral word. Bhoga does not mean enjoyment, does not mean only positive in a sense, positive sense. Enjoyment means bhoga means it can be good or bad. It can be a bitter fruit or a sweet fruit. Sensory experience facilitated by Purusha and hence attributed to Purusha. So this entire thing is it is facilitated by Purusha. And hence, that bhoga is attributed to Purusha also, not only to the body-mind complex. Whereas Gita says, the wise man has to always realize that indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayam. Wise man always he has to see that it is the indriyas which are pursuing the indriyarthas. I am not the karta or bhokta. So that is what Vedanta says. So here also it is the same. Purusha, it is attributed to Purusha. Then, anyasvarupena pratilabdhatmakam Swatantramapi pararthatvat paratantram. Anyaswarupena pratilabdhatmakam. So this Drishyam, we are not talking about the Drishyam. Drishyam is something, it pratilabdhatmakam means it realizes its own self in some other form. Anyaswarupena. Anyaswarupena means by some other entity. By some other entity, it recognizes itself. We can just say that it knows itself through somebody else. It knows itself by means of somebody else or through somebody else. What is that? Let me read the English translation first. Though this buddhi is independent from Purusha, it acquires a different nature from another entity. A different nature means it appears as sentient. Anyaswarupena pratilabdhatmakam. Though it is insentient by nature, it appears as sentient because of the interference of somebody else, because of the action, because of the influence of somebody else. It is functioning as powerful, though by intrinsically it is not powerful. Because of somebody else's influence, he is acting as a powerful person. So this is also like that. Anyaswarupena pratilabdhatmakam. Buddhi is basically, of course, according to Sankhya philosophy, Prakriti and Prakriti and Purusha, they are two totally independent entities. Though this Buddhi, it is insentient, falling under what is called Prakriti or Pradhana, though it is insentient, it is appearing as though it is sentient because of the interference, because of the interaction or influence of that Purusha. So that is what is said here. Anyaswarupena pratilabdhatmakam. This Buddhi is independent from Purusha. It acquires a different nature from another entity. I have explained it in the brackets. Though Buddhi is insentient, it appears as sentient by reflection of Purusha or consciousness in it, and thus becomes, and because of that, it becomes independent. You are getting power from somebody else, which means, suppose I am getting my power from somebody else. Naturally, I become dependent to him, dependent on him. So similarly, it becomes dependent. Swatantramapi pararthatvat paratantram. Swatantramapi, though by nature it is independent. Pararthatvat, because it is serving the purpose of somebody else. Parartha, parasya artham, purpose of somebody else. Pararthatvat paratantram, though it is independent, because of this reflection of consciousness, it acquires a new identity, it acquires a new ability, and then it becomes dependent on that. And thus becomes dependent as it subserves the purpose of another, that is the Purusha. So the union of these, okay, Tayoho, I hope you understood the sentence. Anyaswarupena pratilabdhatmakam swatantramapi pararthatvat paratantram. Tayoho drukdarshana shaktiyoho anadihi arthakrutaha sanyogaha heya hetuhu dukkhasya karanam ityarthaha. Tayoho, that means of these two, of this Prakriti and Purusha, that is Druk Darshana Shakti Yoga, Druk Shakti and Darshana Shakti. Anadihi arthakrutaha sanyogaha. Anadihi, that is something which is originless. The same point in Vedanta also. This avidya, what is that nescence or what we say, that is something which is originless. Of course, there is an end to that. Self-realization brings about the end of that avidya. It is the difference between Brahma and Maya or avidya is Brahma is Anadi Ananta, whereas Maya is Anadi but Santam. Anadi Santam. So here also it is the same. Tayoho druk darshana shaktiyoho anadihi arthakrutaha. Arthakrutaha means artha is purpose. It is for a particular purpose. What is that purpose? The enjoyment of Purusha, according to Sankhya Vedanta. Sankhya slightly varies from Vedanta here and there. So this is one such variation. In Vedanta says the Purusha has no bhoktrutva also, but here there is bhoktrutva. Arthakrutaha sanyogaha heya hetuhu, that is dukkhasya karanam. Heya hetu means dukkhasya karanam. Heyasya karanam, dukkhasya karanam ityarthaha. So let me see. The union of these, the knower and the power, knower and the power of knowing, that is the means of knowing, that is the buddhi, is originless, and it is for the purpose of the Purusha, arthakrutaha. And this is the cause for sorrow, which is avoidable. Tathacha uktam tat sanyoga hetu vivarjanat syat ayam atyantiko dukkha pratikaraha. Tathacha uktam. So that is why it is said, tat sanyoga hetu vivarjanat. Varjanam is giving up. Vivarjanam, vi is only an upasarga. Vivarjanam is totally giving up. Tat sanyoga hetu vivarjanat. By totally giving up, by totally breaking away the union between this, what is that, Prakriti and Purusha, by breaking that union between Prakriti and Purusha, that is dukkhasya pratikaraha. Tas sanyoga hetu vivarjana. That sanyoga hetu that has to be rejected. Vivarjanat syat means happens. Ayam atyantiko dukkha pratikaraha. Dukkhasya pratikaraha katham bhavati. Pratikaraha means that is pratikara is that is a remedy, let us say. Remedy for that sorrow is not only ordinary remedy but atyantika dukkha pratikaraha. Atyantika means that is something which is everlasting. Atyantikam. Atyantika dukkha nivrutti we say. Atyantika dukkha nivrutti means not a temporary dukkha nivrutti, but complete and forever. That is Atmajnana is something which is Atyantika dukkha nivrutti, it's we see. So there is Atyantiko dukkha pratikaraha. It is the everlasting remedy for avoiding the dukkha. So vivarjana syat ayam atyantiko dukkha pratikaraha. Let me see the translation. The everlasting remedy of sorrow is, or for sorrow I can say, is the breaking of the union of the two. That is sanyoga hetu vivarjana. That is it has to be broken. Then how kasmat dukkha hetoho pariharyasya pratikara darshana. Dukkha hetoho pariharyasya. Pariharyam means that which is avoidable, that which can be remedied, that which can be thrown away. Pariharyam. That is dukkha hetoho pariharyasya. This dukkha hetu is something which is pariharyam. Pratikara darshanat. Yes, pratikaram is seen, pratikaram is known, pratikaram is that remedy. That remedy is known because the remedy, by knowing the remedy for the cause of sorrow, which is avoidable, that is pratikara darshanat. Then tadyatha. Okay, now he is giving a very ordinary example. Tadyatha padatalasya bhedyata. Padatala means tala doesn't mean head. Tala means surface. Talam, kara pushta, bhyano, how is it? Kara tala is surface. Padatala is what? The sole of the foot. Padatalasya bhedyata. Bhedyata means it is something which is pierceable. Suppose there is a thorn somewhere on the ground, it is my soul, S-O-L-E, soul, it is pierceable. Padatalasya bhedyata. Then kantakasya bhetrutvam. Kantaka, it has got the ability to pierce. Then prati pariharaha. Kantakasya pada anadhishtanam. Kantakasya pada anadhishtanam. That is parihara. What is the remedy? The kantaka should not get into pada anadhishtanam. Or the foot should not be placed on that kantaka. Pada anadhishtanam. The foot should not be placed on that kantaka. Or padatrana vyavahitena va is or padatrana vyavahitena va adhishtanam. Adhishtanam is again stepping onto that with the help of a shoe. Padatrana is that which protects the pada. Padatrana vyavahitena. Vyavahitam is something which is in between. Suppose I am sitting here and there is a next room. This wall is something which is vyavadhanam. So both I and somebody else in the other room, we are vyavahita. Vyavahitam is separated. So vyavahitena va adhishtanam. By having this padatranam. Etatrayam yo veda loke. So these three, a person who knows these three, satatra pratikaram arabhamana. So such person pratikaram arabhamana. So he will start doing that, he will start practicing that sadhana, he will start practicing that remedy, whatever is remedy. Vedajam dukkham na apnoti. So that dukkham na apnoti, he will not attain that dukkha due to that piercing. Vedajam dukkham, vedaja, that is something caused by that piercing of that thorn. Na apnoti, he doesn't attain, he doesn't get it. So a very simple example. Kasmat tritva upalabdhi samarthyat iti. Kasmat, how means tritva upalabdhi samarthyat. Tritvam, all the three. The ability to know all the three. That is, what is that cause, what is the remedy, and what is it? Other thing is that Padatalasya bhedyata bhetrutvam parihara. Bhedyata bhetrutvam parihara. So here also the susceptibility for dukkha, and again the cause for the dukkha, and again what is the remedy. So these three we know. Then kasma tritvopalabdhi. Atrapi tapakasya rajasaha sattvameva tatpyam. So here he is telling a beautiful point. I never thought about this. Tapakasya rajasaha sattvameva tapyam. That is tapakam. What is tapakam? That which gives us tapam is tapakam. Surya tapakaha, we say. Suppose the sun is very, very hot and it is burning us, tapakaha. Suppose I touch a fireball. That fireball is tapaka. Tapaka means that which burns is tapakam. And what is this tapakam here? Dukkha. Tapakam means it is something which is giving dukkha. So tapakasya rajasaha sattvam eva tapyam. So rajasaha, rajas is what is going to give us all types of pravrutti. Rajoguna is something which is always, it is a pravrutti, always everywhere there is a pravrutti. Because of rajoguna, kama, krodha, all those things, one after the other, all these things, they do cause some dukkham. So the rajoguna is the tapaka. And what is the tapyam? Tapyam is that which is tormented, that which is burnt, is what is called sattva guna. So only a person with a sattva guna is the fellow who is feeling bad. So most of us who see all this whatever WhatsApp messages and whatnot, and then our brain gets totally shaken up and then we feel so bad. So this is because of sattva guna. Suppose I don't have sattva guna, I am also having some rajo guna, or I am having some other tamo guna. If I am having tamo guna, I don't even react. I just don't even bother. If I am having rajo guna, okay, I'll try to do something. I'll try to retaliate, or just I'll do something else. So this sattvameva tapyam, the sattva guna is something which is tapyam. Then tapikriyayaha karmasthatvat. For that tapikriya, for that karma, for this kriya, for that action called tapa, this is the karma. What is the karma? The sattva guna is the karma. Karmasthatvat means it is in the position of karma. It is in the position of that predicate, or it is in the position of that object. Karmasthatvat. Tapikriya na aparinamini nishkriye kshetrajne. This tapikriya means that action called tapa, that action called burning, is not actually in that kshetrajna. It is not actually in that purusha. It is not actually in that knower, but only in the buddhi. But unfortunately, that fellow is also identifying with that. Tapikriya na aparinamini nishkriye kshetrajna. Kshetrajna, its original nature is aparinamini. It doesn't undergo any change. Then nishkriya, there is no action in that. So in that, there is not that tapikriya is not there. But then darshita vishayatvat, that is what is actually darshita vishaya means all the objects are presented to it. Darshita vishayatvat means all the objects are presented to it, in the sense that, like the sunlight, all the objects in the universe are presented to the sunlight. It is not as though sunlight is seeing. It is not that the sunlight is seeing, but it is as though they are all presented to that. So here also, tapikriya, that tapa, na aparinamini nishkriya kshetrajna. It doesn't pertain to kshetrajna, but unfortunately that kshetrajna identifies. Whereas kshetrajna, strictly speaking, darshita vishayatvat means all the objects are simply presented to him. But then it is unfortunate that he is identifying with all that dukkha. Let me read out the translation. The activity called pain is not in the unchanging, actionless Purusha, as it is the knower to which all objects are presented. Then, sattvam tu tapyamane tadakaranurodhi purushopi anutapyata iti. Sattvam tu tapyamane, this sattva guna, which is actually receiving that pain, tapyamane, while pain is being inflicted on it, tada akara anurodhi purushaha api anutapyata. Tada akara anurodhi means the person who is identifying with that akara anurodhi, he is also following that, he is also identifying with that sattva. Here, of course, sattva can also have another meaning, buddhi sattva. The buddhi sattva, that sattvam, if we take not as sattva guna, but as buddhi sattva, that buddhi sattva is the content called buddhi. The content, whatever content, so for that word sattva, there is no other meaning. The content called buddhi. So inflicted on that sattva, Purusha too, identifying with that buddhi, as though feels pain. Purushaha api anutapyate. Tapyate means gets pain. Anutapyate, following something else. When buddhi is tormented, this Purusha also feels tormented. When buddhi is getting hurt, this person also is getting hurt. So it is like that. Anutapyate, anutapa, anugachyati, something like anugachyati. Anugachyati means follows. Anutapyate means when somebody else is suffering, I also feel that suffering. So it is like that. Sattvam tu tapyamane tadakara anurodhi purusha api anutapyate. So when that pain is inflicted on sattva, as I said, sattva can be sattva guna or it can be buddhi sattva also. Both meanings are possible. Purusha too, identifying with buddhi as though feels pain. So we come to the next sutra. What is this drishyam? What is what do we mean by drishyam? Drishya swarupam uchyate. So the nature of this knowable drishya is being told. Prakasha kriya sthitishīlam bhutendriyatmakam bhogapavargartham drishyam. So drishyam is something which is a mixture of these three gunas. In simple words, drishyam is nothing but the mixture of three gunas. What all we see in the whole universe and our own body-mind complex is nothing but the mixture of three gunas. When I say a particular person, that particular person is a mixture of the three gunas. When you say an insect, take an insect, that insect is a mixture of the three gunas. See, take whatever in the universe, whether it is sentient or insentient. Gita also says, Natadasti pruthivyam yat divi deveshu vapanaha. There is some sloka somewhere. Natadasti pruthivyam, I think 14th chapter. Natadasti pruthivyam yat divi deveshu vapanaha. Okay, which is not a mixture of these three gunas. So that is how that shloka goes. So let us see this sutra also says the same. Prakasha kriya sthiti sheelam. So it is sheelam. Sheelam is nature. What is its nature? Prakasha is one aspect. Prakasha, kasha means to shine. Kashate, kashi like kashi. Kashi is somewhere. Kashi is our own internal kashi. Prakasha means pra is only an upasarga. So prakasha, that is something which is of the nature of intelligence, in the nature of clarity, in the nature of clarity. Kriya is activity, always fierce activity. Sthiti, stha dhatu. Stha means to stay, just to stay idle, just to stay, remain where you are. Sthiti sheelam. Then that is, we are referring to these three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamo gunas. Then bhuta indriyatmakam, bhutendriyatmakam. Bhuta means we are referring to the five elements. Prithivyapastejo vayura akashaha, both in their subtle and also in their gross forms. Then, and also indriyatmakam, because indriyas again are derived from them. Then bhoga apavargartham, and for the purpose of bhoga and apavarga of the jiva. Bhoga and apavarga. Bhoga is what is called experiencing the fruit, karma fruit. Apavarga is not in the varga. Varga means a group. Apavarga means not in the group. This three varga, dharma, artha, kama is for one varga. Apavarga means which is not in that group of three. Apavarga is not in that group of three, is apavarga, that is moksha. Moksha is said to be apavarga. Bhoga apavargartham drishyam. This drishyam is something which is having all these qualities. Prakasha, number one, three gunas, and they transform into bhutas and indriyas, and for the purpose of bhoga and apavarga. The drishyam, prakasha kriya sthiti sheelam. And then we have the nature of intelligence, action, and inertia. Bhutendriyatmakam, bhutendriyatmakam. It constitutes the five elements and the five senses. Bhoga apavargartham, for the purpose of enjoyment and liberation. Of whom? Of the Purusha. The knowable is of the nature of intelligence, activity, and inertia, constituting the five elements and the five senses, and existing for the purpose of enjoyment and liberation of the Purusha. This is one difference between Sankhya and Vedanta. The five gross elements and subtle elements are to be taken here, by way of explanation. The word enjoyment merely means experience, happy or otherwise. Okay. Prakasha Sheelam Sattvam. Bhashya says, Prakasha Sheelam Sattvam. Sattvam is of the nature of intelligence. Kriya Sheelam Rajaha. Rajas is the nature of always incessant activity. Then Sthiti Sheelam Tamaha. Tamas is of the nature of just staying idle. Then Yete Gunaha. Here there is a very, very long line in this Yoga Vaisharadi text. Those who are following Yoga Vaisharadi text may know that I have broken into some pieces because I am following this text. I showed you on the very first day. This text by Suresh Chandra Srivastava. Because he occasionally quotes the Bhashyam also, Tattvavidananda, he quotes from Tattvavidananda, he quotes from Vijnana Bhikshu and all those people. So, okay, Ete Guna, I have broken that long sentence into some periods. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to have one single sentence, long sentence in English. Ete Gunaha. We can take it as these gunas. We can take it as these gunas. But in one or two places, it is also commented Ete Gunaha. So, like that. Ete, these are Gunaha. Guna also means a rope. For example, guna, it has got the meaning called rope, like a rope which binds us. Gunas also they bind us. So sattva guna also binds us. It is not as though rajoguna and tamoguna only are binding. Even sattva guna binds us because suppose I am doing some good work. So that doing some good work becomes a sort of addiction to me. Or suppose somebody is constructing some whatever it is, some doing some good work like building some temple or doing something else, that becomes a sort of addiction for him. Not only addiction, then it is always weighing on his mind, and it is a cause of bandha. So like that. So ete gunaha, we can take it as these gunas, or these are like ropes binding in nature. Paraspara uparakta pravibhagaha. Paraspara uparakta. Uparakta means influenced by one another. Uparakta. Uparaga, uparakta. Uparaga means getting attached, painted. Uparakta, getting mixed up or getting influenced, getting affected by one another. Parasparoparakta pravibhaga. Their effects, pravibhaga, their effects. For example, sattva guna has the effect of calmness of mind. So that calmness of mind is also affected by some element of rajas and some element of tamas always. So similarly, rajoguna influence is there in one particular point. Rajoguna effect is there. That is also affected by sattva guna and also tamoguna. So like that, whatever are the effects of sattva guna, rajoguna, or tamoguna, they are also affected by other gunas also simultaneously. Paraspara uparakta pravibhagaha. Parinaminaha, always changing in nature. Then sanyoga viyoga dharmanaha. Sanyoga viyoga. Sanyoga means attachment. Viyoga means not getting separated. With whom? With Purusha. Sanyoga with Purusha. That Purusha is the Purusha is the one we are now concerned with the bondage of that Purusha only. We are not concerned about the bondage of Buddhi. Buddhi, anyway, once the Purusha knows, Buddhi automatically gets Kaivalyam. Buddhi automatically gets Kaivalyam. This Purusha has to know his real nature because Purusha is the person who is intelligent. So, Sanyoga Viyoga Dharmanaha. So, it is of the nature of getting united or separated from this Purusha. Then, Itaretara Upashrayena, Uparjita Murtayaha. Itaretara Upashrayena. Itaretara. One another, upashrayena, with the help of one another. Uparjita murtayaha. Murti means all the bodies. We can take as a body-mind complex. All the bodies, human beings or animals, whatever it is, all these things, they are because of the result of or because of the combination of these three gunas and their effects. And also, of course, the baggage of karma is there. These three gunas, when we say these three gunas, the baggage of karma is also there, that subtle body, etc. We should also take it. Itaretharopashrayena uparjita murtayaha. So these bodies are formed because of this itaretara upashrayanam. Then paraspara angangitvepi. Paraspara angangitvepi. Anga angi. Anga means it becomes secondary. Anga, suppose I say hand, my hand is my angam, becomes secondary. I am the angi. Angi means I am having all these limbs, hands, legs, etc. So I am the angi, whereas these things are my angas. So anga is secondary, angi is primary. Angangi bhavat, that is suppose sattva guna is primary. So that is the angi. The other two things becomes the angas. So like that, angangi bhavepi, angangitvepi, though they are manifesting like that, asambhinna shakti pravibhaga, even then their independent mischief making ability, it doesn't go away. Asambhinna. Asambhinna means their own original nature. It is not totally, it doesn't disappear. What have I written? Yeah, and they show their independent ability even when they exist as dominant or secondary. So when they are dominant, naturally their ability is there. Even when they are not dominant, even when they are angabhava, even when they are as limbs or secondary in nature, even then they show some impact. So suppose Sattva-guna, I am having some experience of Sattva-guna. In that, Rajoguna also is having the ability to give some, do some mischief. Tamoguna also has some ability to do some mischief. So, Angangitvepi asambhinna. It is not totally disappeared. Shakti pravibhaga. Then tulya jatiya, atulya jatiya, shakti bhedanupatinah. Tulya jatiya. That means in the same direction, same jati, same class. Atulya jati means not the same class. Shakti bheda anupatina. Shakti means effort, their energy, their activity may be in the same direction or it may be in a different class. Of course, they said the jati, we can say class. The effort may be in the same class or in a different class. Instead of saying that, the effort can be in the same direction or in some other direction. Tulya jatiyam, of the same name, of the same nature or of the opposite nature. Their energy may coexist in the same or opposite direction. They may sometimes work together and sometimes they oppose. Then Pradhana Velayam, this is all part of the long line which I have broken into pieces. Pradhana Velayam Upadarshita Sannidhanaha Gunatvepi cha Vyapara Pradhanantharnita Anumita Astitaha. So first let me point this. Pradhana Velayam Upadarshita Sannidhanaha. Pradhana Velayam means when they are dominant. Pradhana Vela, Pradhana Samayam, when they are dominant. Even then, they show their presence. They register their presence. They make us see their presence. Upadarshita Sannidhana. They manifest with full features when they are dominant. Pradhana Velayam Upadarshita Sannidhana. When they are fully dominant. And here I can put a comma. I have not put a comma because there is a visarga here. Because there is a sandhi, I didn't put a comma. If I have to put comma, I have to put a visarga and then I put a comma. Upadarshita sannidhanaha gunatvepi cha vyapara matrena pradhana gunatvepi cha. So even when they are secondary, gunatvepi, even when they are in the gauni bhava, then vyapara matrena pradhanantarnita anumita astitaha. Astita is what? Astita means existence. Anumita astita means their existence is inferred. Existence is inferred from what? From their vyapara, from their activity. Even when they are secondary, they are doing some mischief. They are doing some activity. So by that, pradhana antarnita means even when sattva guna is dominant, the other gunas, they are also showing their mischief-making ability. And that is how their astita is anumita. Their astita means their existence, their presence is anumita. It is inferred. It could have been a simpler sentence, but bhashyam is like that. So let us see the translation. Even when they are secondary, their presence can be inferred from their activity within the overall functioning of the main guna. That is pradhana antarnita anumita astita. Their astita or existence is anumita. It's something which is inferred. Inferred where? Pradhana antarnita. In the main activity. How is it inferred? Vyapara matrena. Their mischief-making ability is there. So they are doing some work. So that is how their existence, their presence is inferred. Then purushartha kartavyataya prayukta samarthyaha. So their samarthyam, their ability is always for the purpose of purushartha kartavyataya. Purushartham, for the purpose of all their abilities are oriented to achieve the task of the purusha. What is the task? That enjoyment or liberation. There are only 2 points. Bhoga and apavarga. Bhoga includes 100,000 varieties of bhoga. Apavarga is only one variety. So this bhoga, it can, all this thing, this drishyam is there either for the bhoga or for the apavarga. So purushartha kartavyataya prayukta samarthyaha. Their samarthyam, their ability is prayuktam. Prayuktam is employed. All their ability is employed. They are oriented to achieve the task of purusha. Purushartha kartavyataya. Then sannidhi matra upakarinaha. And again, this is the important thing. Sannidhi matra. It is only when I see a thing, my sense organs, they desire it. If I don't see at all, they don't, the drishyam is there and then it doesn't become drishyam at all to me. So sannidhi matra upakarinaha. Then ayaskanta manikalpaha. They are like ayaskanta, which we saw earlier also. Then pratyayamantarena ekatamasya vrittim anu vartamanaha. Pratyayamantarena. Antarena means something without. Antarena. Pratyayamantarena. That means when they are not dominant. Pratyayamantarena. Ekatamasya vrittim anuvartamanaha. Ekatamasya vrittim. Suppose Sattva Guna is not primary. Sattva Guna is secondary. Rajo Guna is primary. Then what will Sattva Guna do? Sattva Guna also follows anuvartate. Anuvartamana. Anuvartate means it follows the activity of Rajo Guna. So the person is in a highly Rajo Guna mode. Then his Sattva Guna also, to some extent, it goes on in the same direction. And adding its own contribution in its own way, it adds its contribution, some sort of positive contribution, because Sattva Guna always makes a positive contribution. So, but then its contribution is secondary. Similarly, Rajoguna, Tamoguna's contribution is secondary when Rajoguna is very, very active. So, similarly, when Tamoguna is active, other two things become secondary, but then they follow the main flow of that Tamoguna. So, Pratyayamantarena ekatamasya vrittim. Vritti, we know that word vritti, that whatever thought frames and then whatever flow of work we can say here. Vritti means that activity, we can say, roughly we can say that activity, anuvartamana. Then pradhana shabdavachya bhavanti. Pradhana, all these three things, ete gunaha, the whole line has ended here. Ete gunaha, we saw it earlier. Ete gunaha pradhana shabdavachya bhavanti. They are called pradhana. So here the word pradhana was used in a different sense. Pradhana velayam. Pradhana vela, there the word pradhana is used in a different sense. Pradhana velayam means when they are dominant. But here pradhana is different. Pradhana means another name for prakriti. Synonym for prakriti is pradhana. Pradhana shabdavachya bhavanti. What are they? Te gunaha. Pradhana shabdavachya bhavanti. So whatever is in between, it constitutes one line in that commentary. Then, pradhana. Then etat drishyamityuchyate. This etat, all this thing is called drishyam. Drishyam is something which is knowable. Then tadetat bhutendriyatmakam bhutabhavena pruthivyadina sukshma sthulena parinamate. Tadetat bhutendriyatmakam. So this etat means this drishyam, this knowable. Then bhuta indriyatmakam, which is of the nature of bhutas and indriyas. Bhutas means the five elements and the indriyas. Then bhuta bhavena pruthivyadina sthula sukshmena parinamate. Bhuta bhavena parinamate means they undergo this transformation. This drishyam or pradhanam are the three gunas. They undergo transformation. And then parinama is transformation. Prakriti parinama vada, isn't it? So they undergo transformation and then they form these five elements. We know that what is called panchikarana prakriya, you might have heard in Vedanta. Of course, we see about how these five elements in their subtle form, the five elements in their subtle form, they mix in a particular proportion. What proportion nobody knows, but then Vidyaranya sage Vidyaranya has given some shloka saying that in these proportions they mix. So how, if you want to prove it, we may not be able to prove, but he has given a very reasonable calculation. He said, suppose Prithvi Tanmatra is there. If Prithvi has to be formed, Prithvi Tanmatra, half of it, 50% will be Prithvi Tanmatra. Then the remaining 12.5, 12.5, from the remaining four Tanmatras, that is Agni Tanmatra, Vayu Tanmatra, etc. All those put together, it becomes 50%. So this 50 plus 50 becomes 1. So Prithvi Tanmatra, the gross Prithvi becomes like that. So that is what is the formula given by sage Vidyaranya in Panchadashi. So Stula Sukshma Stulena Parinamate. So they are the Stula and Sukshma Bhuta. Similarly, Tatha Indriya Bhavena Shrotradina. Earlier Bhuta Bhavena. Bhuta Bhavena means transformation in the form of bhutas. But here, indriya bhavena, that is in the form of shrotra, etc. Sthula sukshmena, sukshma sthulena, sukshma sthulena parinamate iti. Sukshma sthulena. So indriyas, how can they be sukshma and sthula? So here, of course, our commentators, they come into picture. One commentator says, sthula sukshma. Yeah, mahad ahankarau sukshmendriyam ekadasha cha sthulendriyani. So that is what is written by Yogavartika. Yogavartika is Vachaspati Mishra. Mahad ahankarau sukshmendriyam. Mahat and ahankara. We know that Prakriti is the original thing, that is Mola, that is Mola Prakriti, Avikriti. Mola Prakriti is something which is, the Mola Prakriti is something which is, that is the original thing. From that, the first evolute is Mahan, or what we call Mahat Tattvam. And in Vedanta, we call it Hiranyagarbha Tattvam or something. So then from that, then again, what is called Ahankara, that cosmic ego, what is called that the first notion of I. And in fact, Vedanta texts, they compare it with a sort of ocean of consciousness. In that ocean of consciousness, then that Maya Avachyana. So because of the operation of Maya, a huge wave-like thing, in that ocean, a huge wave, or that itself is called Mahat Tattva. And that wave acquires the notion called I. That notion of I, that original notion of I, is that the first cosmic I, that what is called Ishvara. So that is Maha Mahopadhyaya and Ishvara. So here it is almost similar. Shrotradina sukshma sthulena parinamate. So the from Prakriti, Mahat Tattva, and then Ahankara. So here what he writes is Vachaspati Mishra, Mahad Ahankarau Sukshmendriyam Ekadasha cha Sthulendriyani, he says. Mahat and Ahankara, he is calling it as one single Indriyam only, because it is very difficult to distinguish between Mahat and Ahankara. Basically, it is all this is a sort of what can we say, philosophical speculation. So from that Prakriti, there is what is called Mahat, what we call Hiranyagarbha Tattva, which is the basis, which is something like a golden Hiranyagarbha, is a golden womb, that is from which everything comes out. So from that Hiranyagarbha, there is what is called cosmic mind, that I notion. So it is very difficult to make a distinction, but okay, in philosophy we have made a distinction. So then again, thereafter things are slightly clear. After Ahankara, then again Tanmatrani, from those Tanmatras, gross elements, etc. in that form. Tatha Indriya Bhavena Shrotradina Sukshma Sthulena Parinamate iti. Similarly, it transforms into senses such as hearing in their subtle and gross form. Vachaspati, VM is Vachaspati Mishra, explains that Mahat and the cosmic ego principle are the subtle, and in relation to them, why are our Indriyas and mind called gross? Our Indriyas and mind are called gross by in that Vyasa Bhashya, Indriya Bhavena Shrotradina Sthula Sukshma Sthulena. So Vyasa is calling some of them as Sushma, some of them as Sthula. So somehow commentators have to, sub-commentators have to justify. So they have said Mahat and Ahankara are Sukshma, and compared to them, our mind and the senses, they are the Sthula. So they are considered gross. Tattu na aprayojanam api. Aprayojanam apitu, I could have broken it here. Tattu na aprayojanam apitu. Is the time over? Almost. Should we read this line, or we can read this line later? We can read this, we can 1 or 2 more minutes are there, only 1 more minute. So yeah, Prayojanam, all this is with purpose. It takes upon the task and functions. It is for achieving enjoyment and liberation of the Purusha. So we will read this line later. Any questions or anything? Srinivas, any questions, please?
No questions so far.
Is it functioning?
Yeah.
My voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Yeah, this Vyasa Bhashya, we have to slightly break into pieces and then slowly study. Yeah. So there are no questions. We'll stop here. Hari Om Tat Sat.
One question, sir, by Shivkumarji. Sir, you mentioned about 3 methods of removing sorrow. Can you please explain them again?
3 methods of removing sorrow. Now, today's class.
Yeah.
Which line is the 3 methods of removing sorrow? That is, that is what he said was Bhedyatvam, then again Bhetrutvam, Bhedyata, something like that he said. That is, the sole of my foot is something which can be pierced. And the thorn has the nature of piercing. And then the Pratihara, the Parihara is to not to step on it or to have some interface, to wear a chappal. So that is what these 3 points, 3 methods, that is the only thing which we discussed today. Did we discuss anything else? That is 3 methods, yeah. Somewhere here, Anyaswarupena Pratilabdhatmakam Purusha. Yeah, I think that that example of Padatalasya Bhedyata, the sole of the foot is pierceable, thorn is piercing, Tritva, yeah, that is what, yeah, that Tritva Upalabdhi Samarthya, the ability to know the three, the three, they're very simple. It is referring to that Vedyata, Bhetrutvam, Parihara. Vedyata, that is my personality or my buddhi is something which is highly influenceable, let us say, that is pierceable. Then something else is piercing in nature. Then what is the remedy for that? The remedy in the sadhana marga is to study Vedanta, to study books, etc., to listen to a teacher, etc. So, and also not only that, purifying my own self by various other means. It may be Ashtanga Yoga, it may be Karma Yoga, whatever it is. So, on one hand, I have to do some internal purification and also listening, etc. So, both things have to be done. So, this is the 3 points are told here. Pada Talasya Vedyata Tritvam, that is what he said.
Yes, sir, by breaking Purusha and Prakriti, remedy for the cause of the sorrow, etc.
What is that?
By breaking Purusha and Prakriti.
Breaking means that is, breaking means realizing that I am not that. By ignorance, I am having bondage. By ignorance, I am identifying myself with that thing. Breaking means I realize my real nature. Then I decouple myself. I decouple myself and then break away from that thing. All that thing becomes drishyam. Whatever happiness or sorrow becomes drishyam. Oh, indriyani indriyartheshu vartante. That is the greatest sentence I found. One great sentence. So that is that level where you are decoupling yourself. So that is breaking. Union breaking. Breaking is that. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Hari Om. That's it.